President Trump's headline-making sit-down interview with Fox News' Jeanine Pirro. So Jeanine talked with Mr. Trump about his decision to fire James Comey, whether the Democrats will ever cooperate with him. And here's what he said about his threat to cancel the daily White House press briefing. Roll the tape.
When we have those press conferences, I actually said we shouldn't have them. Because Sarah Huckabee,
it's been 100 years we've been doing it.
No, but listen, but
that.
there's never been action like this. This is crazy. I mean,
we're
getting higher ratings. They're getting higher ratings on those press conferences.
Would you seriously consider stopping these press sessions?
No, we do it in a different way.
How?
We do it through a piece of paper with a perfectly accurate, beautiful answer. I'll give you an example.
In writing?
They're asked 100 questions or 50 questions or 20 questions. If they get 1 out of 50, just a little bit off, 5%, 10%, 20%, it's the next day it's a front page story in every newspaper.
Right.
Now, so press conferences weren't even covered for Obama practically. They were on C-SPAN and C-SPAN 2 when, there was nothing going on.
But will you put an end to them?
Just a minute. These press conferences are like the biggest thing on daytime television.
They are.
Okay? You see the ratings.
Yes.
They're blowing away everything on just about, I think, everything on daytime television. What I'd love to do is stop them.
Kimberly, you know what I love about this? He's still bragging about the ratings.
Well, he's right. I mean, it's the new bold and the beautiful, because that's what people are.
Daytime television.
Starring Sean Spicer. Yeah. I mean, really, they're kind of riveting, captivating.
I would call it general inhospitable.
They're okay.
Ouch.
Do you have the cure? So I think that he's serious when he's saying this, that he's considering it and thinking about it, because I remember before he even, took office and was sworn in, they were talking about that they were going to shake up the way that the press briefings were handled, the comms for his administration, and obviously there is some room for improvement in terms of the rollout and when they need to get ahead of the messaging, like we saw in the travel ban and like we saw here with the dismissal of Comey. So perhaps it's not a bad idea that they do accompany it with, a paper readout, electronic briefing, and then for some of the larger news days, then they have somebody there, a spokesperson, at the podium.
Do you think, Greg, this is Donald Trump saying, you guys are being so nasty to me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take away your toys for a little while. You can't play with them.
You know what President Trump does, and people in the media forget, he likes to introduce options that were never introduced before, because he's like, why not? No one's ever said, I can't do this, so let's just see what happens. It's like he likes to toss a stone into the pond and watch it ripple. But the person who doesn't take Donald Trump's words seriously most is Donald Trump. Words are free. It's like steam coming off an engine. He can talk a squirrel off a nut truck, and so his words just are free and they flow, and if he changes his mind, he changes his mind. He doesn't take this stuff as seriously as other people do because he's from Queens. He's from Queens. He's a salesman. He's a salesman from Queens.
My mom's from Queens.
I love Queens. And that it.
Just saying.
Watch what you say about Queens. Jillian, is this really going to happen, or is this just a veiled threat?
Right.
Because, Greg's just saying he's just talking.
I think
Or does Donald Trump himself need to start doing more press conferences? Because when he does it, that really moves the needle.
I bet this is another one of his tactics where one of his famous negotiating tactics where he throws something extreme on the table so that everybody can get worked up into a huff. And then what actually is going to play out is something much more moderate. So I bet he's seriously mulling something over, like, maybe we're not going to do them every day. Maybe we're going to do them 3 days a week. Maybe they're going to be shorter. Maybe we're not going to televise all of them. Something like that is probably under consideration.
All of them.
But I think that he's throwing this out so that when he actually settles on something, it's not so egregious to people. It's not so over the top.
And by the way, he's done this with everything. Create an extreme position, and then everything else seems moderate.
Exactly.
That's right.
And it works very well for him.
We should actually maybe ask him if he could do the pressers at 9 o'clock. Maybe we could just take those live. Bob would love that, wouldn't you, Bob?
I sure would, yeah. Now, listen, you know how much I love Donald Trump, but I want to give him a little credit here because he finally realizes that he is so disorganized that nobody can keep up with it. And you put somebody out there with Sean Spicer, who I think now has got himself a good tailor.
You should talk.
You of all people.
Wow.
I mean,
Haters gonna hate.
Did you just say that?
Well, you actually look sharp tonight. I take that back.
Well, thank you, Josiah. That'd be nice of you, son. But I think, frankly, that it's not a bad idea because they can't keep on the same page because things change the course of the day. You're right about his thinking. He doesn't. Well, to the extent he thinks. But it just no, it's not a cheap shot. He just keeps going. I mean, he does.
He's a shark. He's instinctual. Like you know what I said yesterday is that he's a shark who's unaware of the effects he has on the beach. He's just constantly moving, and everybody on the beach is screaming. But he's like, "What did I do? I fired Comey. Why is everybody
evacuated the water?
Yeah.
Everybody's gone.
And at
everyone went home."
least these press conferences aren't on C-SPAN 2,
Right.
like President Obama's. I wonder why they were so boring. Is because no one was asking him any challenging
That's the
questions.
difference between a comedy series and Trump and some historical thing on the British TV.
I'm not sure what you just said.
Something else that happened today was that Spicer was trying to respond to what to criticism about this. Well, he's going to get rid of the press briefing, and he said, it's hard to coordinate on messaging. We don't always get to the president on every issue before we go out and talk to the press. And that was either a major cry for help or it was him admitting that he's not actually doing his job.
He made the point.
Let's see if President Trump addressed it with Judge Janine. Here's another little sneak peek.
Are you moving so quickly that your communications department cannot keep up with you?
Yes, that's true.
So what do we do about that?
We don't have press conferences, and we do...
You don't mean that.
Well, just don't have them. Unless I have them every 2 weeks and I do myself. We don't have them. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
First of all, you have a level of hostility that's incredible. And it's very unfair. Sarah Huckabee is a lovely young woman. You know Sean Spicer. He is a wonderful human being. He's a nice man.
Is he your press secretary today and tomorrow? Will he be tomorrow?
Sure. He is. He's doing a good job, but he gets beat up.
Will he be there tomorrow?
Yeah, well, he's been there from the beginning.
Kimberly, what do you think about the president's assessment of his communications team?
Yeah, I think that there's a disconnect. You know, he has been there from the beginning, but if you want to be successful and do communications with President Trump, you have to be someone that he actually wants to spend a little bit of time with. You've got to insist on being able to get in front of POTUS, talk to him, and have like 5-6 minutes with him before you go out there and you take the podium. Otherwise, you're driving blind.
Are they not getting that alone time
Well, I think that's
need?
what you hear Sean Spicer saying, and the president is very busy. He's constantly on the go. So it has to be something where there's a very close relationship, where there's trust there, there's inherent loyalty, somebody that he knows that's been with him from the beginning, etc. I think that's very important.
Is Reince's job the chief of staff? Is he supposed to be the one that's controlling these meetings where they can get in front of each other before they go out to the press conference?
That is his job. He's supposed to be the conduit to make sure that they are communicating, that they get FaceTime together, that the messaging is on point, that everybody is on the same page. Otherwise, you get this where one person's saying another thing, the president is tweeting something else. You've got to be connected to him. There's got to be like a direct
Can I make
link.
one point here that the White House wanted to have our own Kimberly Guilfoyle as press secretary, and she decided she didn't want to do it because it was about a tenth of
I can't break up with Bob.
Yes, that's right. It would have too much time away from each other. But no, I think that was a smart idea. I mean, but you're right. I do not know a press secretary who's been successful who has not had direct access to the president.
But there's something else that we were sitting here ragging on the communications team. That's not the issue. The issue is this is a different kind of president. And we all know this because we're talking about this guy every single day. He is doing not one thing a day. He's usually doing 4 or 5 things a day. I compared him to like a Pilates instructor or a cyclist who's the class can't keep up. He's always working everybody to the bone, so people can't keep up with him, including his own staff. His staff can't keep up with him.
So you're saying the president is as ADD, and he's calling meetings, and he's doing this, and he's doing that?
No, I wouldn't say ADD. I'd say because he's
working so hard,
he doesn't sleep,
things?
He doesn't drink, so he never has a hangover. Hangovers generally keep everybody in D.C. from doing anything before 11.
Hey, listen, I was a drunk for 30 years, and I never saw noon. That was exactly right.
But to a certain extent, I disagree.
How dare you?
Oh my! Don't strike me again.
Don't worry about it. He's too small to hurt you.
The idea that somehow he's got more on his plate, more on the agenda than other presidents that have come before, to me, that doesn't cut the mustard. I don't buy that for a second. I think that the problem here is somebody, I don't know if it's the chief of staff, if it's right, someone is not exerting that discipline on this. Somebody is not convening the right people at the right times of day with the president and saying, look, this is the message of the day, go forth, here's what the president thinks. Someone is not doing that.
You got to manage the Oval.
Exactly.
That's right.
Manage the Oval.
You do. That's exactly what has to happen.
Yeah, except
I don't know what that
difference
means.
here is
Want to find out?
There's also it's a small White House.
Hold on, go ahead, Bob.
Trump, what you need to say to Trump is, are you going to be any surprises for us today? And you know, the thing is, they'll have their press conference, and then he'll do something.
Yeah.
You know, and it totally, nobody knows anything about it. How do you communicate that?
Yeah.
The only person who communicated, I think Greg's right, is Trump. I mean, you know,
He should be his own.
Has Trump had a press conference?
Yeah, I mean, he is the best messenger. He knows exactly what he's thinking, what he's feeling, how he wants to say it. So unless he can kind of become one
Has he had a press conference?
Well, no, of course he has, Bob. But let's remember the last press conference he had. He was on the ropes with the Russia thing a couple months ago, and he came out and just razzle-dazzled everybody. He said, you're very fake news. He put everybody in a locker, and then he jetted off and did a big rally. If he did that more and explained his positions to the American people, I think he would be a lot more effective. Don't you agree?
No.
No?
But he's just
because any position he decides to do for the American people, that could be a good one. So, I mean, it's...
Well, it couldn't be worse than anything Obama did.
Well, here we go. Let's fall back to our defense, son. Let's go right back to Obama, because when we get in the corner, we can't defend Trump. We go back to
I'm not in the corner at all. I'm right at the center of the table. Greg, let me ask you a question.
A
lot of this now, this story has become about process, about the White House communication staff can't keep up with the president and the story changing. I think everybody's forgetting about the fact that he cut loose Comey because he was ineffective and he didn't feel like he had the trust and the credibility that he needed to do the job. That's the point of the story. It's not about Russia or the White House people.
Yeah, I mean, Comey was essentially the Jan Brady of the FBI. He was in the middle of everything, but not making anything better. You know, Jan Brady ever showed up in every scene. It just ruined the scene. They had to get rid of Jan and find a Marcia. And right now it's about finding a Marcia, and I think it would be great if it were a woman.
You know, Huckabee said that the vast majority of agents have come to them and said how terrible he was, and that is exactly a lie.
Really?
I mean, yes.
Which Huckabee?
Which Huckabee?
Yes.
I can't distinguish between the two of them. By the way, the reason you're in the middle is we always put the youngest guy in the middle.
I can't. I know. Bob, I'm going to try and save you just a little bit.